Erwin Wurm, thank you very much for inviting us to your home here outside of Vienna, beautifully restored chateau, and in stark contrast to the narrow house, which you built as a facsimile of the home you grew up in. Can you describe for us the journey between these two homes? Not only in your work, but also, I would say, in your psyche. There must have been many, many steps in between, and there must have been a motivation behind that to break out of that.
Well, I mean, I grew up in this society. It was a small bourgeois. It's called little bourgeois society, and it was nice. My parents were lovely people, lovely parents. I had a nice childhood. But when I opened the first door towards the arts and literature and philosophy, it was like shockingly new, shockingly interesting, and it was like opening the door to a grand new area. And this was extremely seducing. So I went very often more and more through this door to escape my little, small, nice, but still narrow reality. And narrowness doesn't only mean my family, it means the society in the 60s and 50s, 60s, 70s. I grew up in Austria, post-war, post-Nazi, still Nazis, post-monarchy still, and after 700 years monarchy, ruled by one family on the one side, on the other side Catholic Church, two major blocks, and in between those blocks the Austrian soul, or the Austrian character, whatever you might call it, developed. And so it was, really, really interesting to have this as a basis and to try to create something else out of this. A door to escape somewhere in my work reality is cynicism and humor, because with this, it's like a tool. I can address very serious matters, very serious questions of different layers, like personal, death, or whatever, so social and so on. And this is a very important tool for me. It's not the only one, but still.
And this is really a theme which recurs in your work. Humor, cynicism, with reference, for instance, to your portrait where you have your hand, your finger poking in your nose. How seriously do you take yourself? How seriously do you take others? And how seriously do you expect others to take you?
But basically, I take people seriously, and I take myself seriously until a certain level. I know, I have learned, if someone is able, or if I am able to step back or step aside and look on myself from another angle, that things get easier and lighter. And the ability to be able to laugh about my own stupidity or about someone's stupidity helps a lot to solve problems, because it makes you better, it makes you easier to accept that you have a problem, that there is a problem of stupidity or many other things. And all these parts which we want to hide, like embarrassment or ridiculousness, or we feel small and little in relation to all these others, grand, big, whatever personal tragedies, I found it better to be able to laugh about them. It makes it easier to live with it than to take it so serious, which would pull you down.
So basically, your look on life is always accompanied by a certain humor, would you say?
Yes, I try to, but it's very difficult.
It's difficult.
For example, when I think about the Austrian politics or politics in Europe in the last decade or so, I sometimes miss my own humor. Well, I would need more of this in this relation.
But you are one of the rare people who would have all the opportunities to live somewhere else. Why are you still living in Austria?
Well, it's a very good question. I thought many years about this concept. It was a concept in my brain. Where should I go? I lived in New York for 1.5 years, and I lived in Berlin a little. But I must say, first, I'm grown up here. I was born here.
Your roots are here.
My roots are here, and then my friends are here, and my family is here. My two families, old and new family, and my children are here. My animals are here. The houses are here. So where should I go? And then that's the one thing. Friends, I would really miss. And in my age, it's in any age. I think every age except when you're very, very young, it's difficult to make real friends. And that's one of the reasons why I felt lonely in the States. I was every Sunday, every weekend, I went to the Metropolitan Museum to visit European art. Also the European art, I mean, I like Europe as an idea very, very much. And it's great to be here and to try to be a part of this. And hopefully it's really going to work and something really comes out and not only stupid economical relationships.
But let's close then all these private things. But the last thing which I'm interested in is, do you have to feel comfortable and happy and secure in let's say, in the links with your family and friends and so on, to be able to work? Because there are some artists who, on the contrary, suffer and are lonely cowboys, and then, they feel more creative. How would you describe yourself?
First I thought this is romanticism.
Yes, exactly.
19th century, that you need to have a big drama and suffer a lot to create something. But I have learned then, I had something very bad happened in my personal life and history. Something really, really bad happened, and a very, very long time I was paralyzed, more or less 2-3 years. And after this I started with the 1-minute sculptures, which brought me the big success. So now I look on this issue different, from a different angle, and I think maybe it's really important that something happened, because before I had the feeling I'm here, the little artist, and there's this kind of level board where all the great artists are in philosophy and theory and whatever, and I could never connect. I read a lot, but I tried to understand it, but it didn't go into my blood. So there was no link in a way. So I tried hard, but it was not, how can I describe it? It was not working. It was unnatural in a way. It was not natural. After this big drama, all of a sudden I didn't care about these things. And all of a sudden something happened which made it go and which made it flow and run. That's very interesting.
And as we've already said, there's an element of fun, of even comic resonance, slapstick in your work, especially if we think of these 1-minute sculptures and the 59 positions. It makes it accessible to a very wide audience. And as far as I've understood, this is something which you endorse, which you want.
Sometimes.
Why?
It happened. I cannot say I want this, I was looking for it. It happened. First, I use sometimes the language of science fiction and language of comic strip and mix it up, so it's easy. It seems to be easy accessible. And there is no, so the door, as you said, is wide open. Everybody could step in very easily. Everybody sees a fat car. Easy to understand. People think that's it. And then they walk away. If you don't walk away and if you stay and you look at it, then you see different layers and different perspectives, and you can go deeper in it. And then you have more access to philosophy, psychology, and so on. But this happened. It was not a purpose. Because at the beginning you have a game with a certain group of people who are interested in art, and everybody looks for his fathers. I call it fathers, maybe it's mothers. To be accepted by. So I wanted that my teachers accept my art, my work, or other colleagues, or big curators, or museum directors, or galleries, and so on. So this was the beginning. But then after a while, I thought, now I think it's, of course I like when other people like my work. Of course it's great, it's fantastic. But the first door is me, myself, if I'm satisfied or not.
When are you satisfied with your work? Is this an ongoing process, or is there a point when you say, okay, now it's great?
I'm mostly not satisfied with my work, and I try to, I have done some pieces, I think they're okay, and I like them. But then with the next pieces, you want to be as minimum as good as this piece or better.
Do you have a favorite?
Well, a favorite, yeah, of course, the 1-minute sculptures. I think some 1-minute sculptures are.
Is there, for instance, an object or a piece of art you would never sell?
Yeah.
Many.
I destroy.
No. I don't mean destroy because you don't like it. I mean never sell because it's so close to your heart.
No.
You would sell anything, everything?
Yes.
Good.
I sell them because I want that they're outside in the world and that other people can see them. That's much more important.
You come across very much as a child of our times, very much the zeitgeist, very much related to the media, and famously, the Red Hot Chili Peppers cited you as their inspiration for their video Can't Stop in 2002.
Can't Stop. Yeah, exactly.
What's your relation with the media and with this kind of very interconnected world?
Well, I found for many years, I still find it that the modern or contemporary public space for art are the medias. Obviously, magazines, of course, internet, TV, and all these kind of things. In the past, it was the public space or houses from outside, official houses, whatever. Now it's the medias, or also the medias. And so I was easily willing to accept invitations from magazines or TV, like pop groups and so on, like the Red Hot Chili Peppers, to connect my work with these things.
And I personally was very touched by one of your last exhibitions in the Albertina in Vienna, De Profundis, where, and you can explain it better than me, you have you exposed men of a certain age, naked. You paint over it a little bit, but it's away from the humor. It goes maybe obviously more deeply at first. It's about age. It's not about aesthetics, at least not in the normal way of beauty. Is that a kind of maturity of your art, or why did you go to that?
I have realized through my research on positions in sculptures, human beings in sculpture during history and also nowadays, that we have lost a certain physicality,
I would say.
and we owe our body now. We have, I would say, the copyright of our body, but in the past, like in the 13th, 11th, 12th century, it was very difficult, very different. The body, we have borrowed the body. The body was something which was not important. The important thing was the soul. The body was the vessel to keep the soul until the end. Mm-hmm. When the soul is free again and the soul goes where it needs to go, to the insides, to the paradise, or not to the paradise, to the hell. But they had a totally different relation to their body. Pain was more accepted than now. Death was more accepted than now. We hide pain, we hide death, and we hide aging. There's a whole industry which tries to avoid aging, and we all do it. We all like to do it because we're the youth cult. So, and I found myself slowly aging. I'm end of 50s now, and I saw my friends also, and I wanted to. I was interested to create certain positions of standing in the room, which relates to these former positions of the early Renaissance or of the Gothic area. So this totally different relation to the body than we have today, but done with people from nowadays. This was the first thing. And the second thing was, as I've said already, my friends are the same age than me, or a little older, or a little younger, so man over the top. And this is so interesting also.
So it's also a self-reflection on...
Absolutely. Yeah. In advertisement, you see just young people, young, beautiful women, beautiful men. Older people, nearly nobody shows older people, elder people. And I found it so interesting to see these bodies and to see the sex of them also not functioning. I mean, it's functioning, but not in function, obviously. Mm-hmm. So you see a total different attitude on these men, and this I found great. And they were all willing to accept to show them some naked, some half naked, and then I tried to with color. I tried to deform the bodies. So I used paint as an sculptural tool to transform or deform the body into something else. And this was very, very interesting, and I liked it a lot.
So age and death is something on your mind? A lot? Or not a lot? No, not for everybody. For some,
I mean, next year I'm 60 years old.
Is there life after death for you?
Only through art and through the children. And through
Immortality through art.
Yes, and children.
Yeah. I mean, you are a little bit fishing for compliments. You're in the prime of your life. You're at the pinnacle of your career.
It's just not true. Next year I'm 60 years old. Come on, look into the...
Do you enjoy your life? Is that the life you wanted?
Yes.
Have you achieved what you set out to do?
Yes, very much. I enjoy my life very much. I'm a so-called happy person, although I'm very constantly fighting. Every day I'm fighting with my work. And this sometimes is a real pain, and it's not easy.
It's a challenge.
It's a challenge. Sometimes I hate
Do you
it
still...
because I always have the feeling I have no ideas anymore, nothing comes back. So I constantly have to prove myself new every day.
So you are your own sort of motor every time.
I'm my own torture chamber. In their speech.
Now, before we let you go, just a little bit I have to ask you about, and that's become a bit of a cliche question, but nevertheless, the art world, the art market, the industry behind it, the fact that, and many people denounce it, so I'm not the first one to say that, we have a handful of galleries, collectors who do manipulate the market. Sometimes the artist is in a position to do it himself, like Damien Hirst. How do you relate to that? I mean, you are nevertheless part of it, you have to be. Can one be outside of that?
Yeah, but I can tell you, if I would be English or American, my prices would maybe be 10 times higher. So it is...
well, there's still time.
I'm in a very different position being an Austrian. Because our background is different.
Mm-hmm. So it's an Anglo-Saxon world,
English
you would say.
were always much smarter than the rest of Europe to... get the rich people come to.
Yeah, but I mean, I've cited Damien Hirst because he's really one who really knows how to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, you go and see one of his shows, and there's a whole thing that you can get the T-shirt and the book and the badge and the whole thing. Yeah, but not only that. I mean, you are more aware than I am that the fact of holding back or threatening to put everything on the market is such an influence on the price.
He's a genius in this. He's really a genius.
But is he a genius as an artist or as a marketing?
He's also a very good artist. Very often he got despised because he's addressing certain ideas and certain issues about the market. And I found it brilliant. It's not every work is the same way great, but I think he's a great artist. Because there are many artists who envy this success.
Of course, I fully understand that. But I mean, if you're in the position that you are being, let's say, pushed by some of these collectors, galleries and so on, then it's fine. But is it not a little bit dangerous that a lot of the artists are maybe being overlooked because they don't fit into just the collectors, what he's missing?
Sure. It's unfair and it's a drama and it's unrealistic and it's, as Gerhard Richter once said, it's vulgar also sometimes to buy
sometimes it's obscene.
It's obscene to pay insane prices.
Are they justified in any way? We're talking about these, astronomical prices.
It is justified through the people who buy it. Because there are people who spend the money for this. And yes,
it's capitalism.
It's pure capitalism. But it's not. We're not talking about quality. We're talking about prices. Quality and price must not go together. Yes. There are some artists out. I cannot say his name now. It's an English artist, an older guy, painter. I found it pure horrible. But he has insane prices. Great for him. I don't envy it. But for my taste, I don't understand it. But it's also okay. We are in a plural world.
But can anybody judge it? Can anybody really judge it?
I am not able to judge, and that's also a reason why I gave up being having a professorship, because there are 100 million different opinions about something. And in the past, it was only, let's say, photorealism, or it was concept art, or it was whatever, minimal art. So you knew exactly what is good in between these terms. Now it's totally different and totally free, and many businesses are.
And also, I think through the fact that everything's in the net, everybody can put something out there. We have too much. But who do you collect? Do you collect other work of other?
Yes, I collect things I like. Really, things I like. So I have a nice fontana there.
So you don't think about the investment part of it?
Well, I must say, I must confess, sometimes I think about the investment. Because I buy it not only for me, but also for my children.
What would you like to be remembered for?
My work.
And will you be remembered for your work?
This I cannot say. Absolutely not. Because you know what I have learned, that everything is so relative and everything changes so quick, and taste also changes so quick. We all do not know what's happening in 100 years.